Hi guys, this is Grandmaster Leona Roshidze, and as you already understood, we are going to have another video lesson. Today's theme is exchange technique. It is a very important aspect and a component of the strategical chess, positional chess, and it's very often underestimated by the young players or simply by the unexperienced players. Of course, we everybody like to sacrifice, play beautiful combinative chess, but we don't always get this type of positions. And the positions where we could continue sharp, aggressive play. That's why it's important to have in our arsenal all kind of weapons. Okay, let's go back to our theme, piece exchange technique. And there are a few things that we have to say to really understand the point of this subject. Let's say if there are two similar pieces at the board in case of material value, it still doesn't mean that they are equal. For example, I have a knight. I have the knight that attacks the pawn of the opponent, and my opponent has also the knight that protects that pawn. Yes, materially, both knights are equal, but attacking knight will be always more active and stronger and potentially will have better future than the defensive knight. So this is the aspect that we really have to understand and pay attention in every situation when we are planning to make some exchanges. Before we go for them, before we start some exchanges, we have to really very carefully evaluate other aspects of the position too, other aspects and the potential possibilities and tasks that those pieces are fulfilling, not just material value. Well, generally, the purpose of the correctly made piece exchanges is to get some end game where our pieces will be very active and nicely placed, while opponent will be left only with the passive and the bad pieces. So it will look like a little magic. We will have technically winning position without any single combination and tactical strikes. Also, there are some other purposes that piece exchanges may have. For example, when we have lack of the space, it's good to exchange some pieces, because we will liberate the space for the rest of our pieces and we will solve our headache with the finding good squares, good locations for our forces. Also, when we are having material disadvantage, for example, it's good to exchange the pawns, because let's imagine the position where there are no pawns left, or simply there is too limited number of the pawns. Maybe even extra piece will not be already enough to win the game. So piece exchange could save some points, could save some half point in our game. Also, if we are under the attack and opponent has a serious initiative, it's again good to exchange the pieces, because we will slow down the attack, we will eliminate some attacking potential from the board, and well, we will make more secured our king's position or whatever. The area where the opponent is attacking will be better protected, will be under the less danger. And okay, there could be many other subjects too. I don't want to keep talking about this. Let's immediately go for some concrete examples. The first position is very simple one. The rooks are looking at each other and it's black's turn to play. So we have to avoid or to accept this exchange. I think it's not very difficult to understand here what black has to do. and he made the correct decision. He went back with the rook. So yeah, the materially they are equal, but potentially black rook is the attacking piece that has semi-open file here, the target to pressure, b2, d4, and when the queen will go also to b6 and support the rook, maybe white already will not be possible to keep both of the pawns here. So, and what about the white rook? It doesn't have a bright future right now. So of course, exchanging the rooks would be a serious mistake. Okay, let's go for another example. This time the knights are under the exchange and it's white's turn to play. So, well, if we will evaluate the location of the knights and the positions that they have, we clearly will understand that this knight a5 is stuck in the corner and could be under the serious danger. So that's why, of course, white plays knight d2, avoids exchange, and even before he's coming now, just winning the black knight. So it looks like that black has to play b5. Anyway, b4, knight b7. And we see that this knight on b7 now is under the blocking structure here, under the blocking pawn b4, and even I cannot imagine where this knight could go. If somehow it will go to d8, now there will be another blocking pawn here on d5. So of course these type of passive and badly placed pieces we should not exchange. Now white may play c4 and continue pressuring on the queen side. For example, if black will try to destroy here this blocking structure against the knight, white will simply continue by a3. Take, 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 and still there's no way to activate knight b7 while our knight is placed quite nicely here. Okay, even maybe black could play something like f5, start the kingside attack. But okay, maybe rook c1, white plans to play c5, rook c8, and f4, the typical strike to stop black's pawn structure, and not only to stop the pawn structure, but to get access on d4 square. For example, after pawn takes f4, knight f3, and again we see the huge difference between our knight and the opponent's one. So exchanging those knights materially would be normal, but okay, strategically it would be a huge mistake. Okay, let's go to another position. It's not so easy one as the previous examples, of course. Let's evaluate it. Well, first of all, what we see is that black king is in a terrible situation. Okay, black has some extra pawn here, but I'm afraid to say that this is an extra pawn. It doesn't look like an extra pawn, of course. So it seems that white needs to continue to get now very powerful, almost unstoppable attack. So how we could do this? For example, this is a nice, beautiful diagonal here. Queen e3 or queen d2 could create serious pressure, but this knight doesn't let our queen to go on this diagonal. Another idea is to use this diagonal, of course, but again, the knight c4 is a problem. Black has some weaknesses in the position too. We could pressure here, but again, this knight protects everything and avoids bishop a3 move. So logically, we should arrive to a very simple conclusion. This is the piece that actually protects from all problems the black player, and all we have to do to exchange this knight or force him to go away. So white played just knight d1. Knight goes to e3, and after disappearing this knight c4, we get all possibilities to attack black king, access to this diagonal, access to this diagonal, and also possibilities to pressure weakness on d6. For example, probably e5 is the most logical move, knight e3 and bishop e6. Of course, I would like to play something like rook d1, but if I play rook d1, I don't like knight g4, and suddenly some problems could appear on a f2 square. So it's a good moment to make a prophylaxis, little prophylaxis, by playing h3 and then attack on d6 square. Black is in a huge trouble because finally this knight will disappear from the board. Rook d8, knight takes, queen d2, attacking this pawn, and also already planning to go bishop a3. So white gets huge advantage thanks to correctly made exchange. Okay, let's take a look at another position. White is a pawn up, but I wouldn't say that situation is very clear because black has pair of bishops. This bishop b7 really makes me a little bit scared. White could take another pawn here. But for example, after pawn takes, knight takes, d5, I would say that black has a serious compensation now. Both of the bishops start working. They are supporting very flexible center, and I don't know, it definitely worse of those two sacrificed pawns. So as we see, black is getting some kind of compensation initiative, and of course we again have to try to slow down that initiative, and maybe even we will be ready to sacrifice little material for that. The best move in the position is bishop e4. Instead of taking the material, white is giving up f5 pawn. But now, thanks to this exchange, there is nothing left from the black's attack. There is no pair of bishops, and the bishop that is left at the board is the bad bishop. And now white gets dominating position in the center, blocking white squares and simply attacking numerous weaknesses in the black's position. And there's no any attack and any compensation. So this is the subject of slowing down the opponent's attack thanks to the correctly made piece exchanges. Okay, the next example is a very interesting one, I would say, and I want to give you just a little bit more information in this position. It's black's turn to play, and let's imagine that black has something like 15 minutes on the clock and white only has 3 or 2. But okay, after every move each of them is getting 30 seconds more. What would you play with black? Black player decided here to take on b4. White took the rook, check, and bishop takes. So black got an extra pawn, but this was not a very wise decision. Because now, for example, after queen e4, it's very simple to play with white, even with the 2 minutes on the clock. Because I have a blocking structure here. We have a different colored bishops. King will go to the king side to escape, and I will have a lot of chances to save the game. And what's the most important thing, I don't have to think too much, because it's a very simple position already. Thanks to these exchanges, even just for the price of the one little pawn, white got very simple position, and it's easy to defend it now. So instead of exchanging the pieces and getting just one extra pawn, black should simply continue rook b8 to keep the potential to attack the weak king of the opponent. So here the potential of the attacking pieces is higher than even such a thing like a material advantage. And additionally, I mentioned about the clock information, and it's what's not just like unexpected thing. Um, I just wanted to tell you that when the opponent is in a state knot, is in time trouble, it's always very useful and good to find unforced continuations. When you just keep the resources at the board as more pieces as possible, and opponent has to think, because there is no probably direct threats or something like this, but there are a lot of pressure. These kind of situations are just like the horror, the terrible situation, terrible moments for the player who is having serious problems with the time on the clock. And of course, it was correct decision according to the exchange technique. Those rooks are not equal. This rook is doing nothing here, while my rook will now support the queen and generally Blake's attack.